Hey guys, Lukasz from EYExplore here with you once again, doing street photography, and this time we are in Shinjuku, and it's a little bit different. Usually I'm showing you a photo or a location that I kind of found on my own that I wanted to share with you and teach you how I shot it, which is exactly what we do on EYExplore workshops. But in this case, it's a little bit different. Today I want to show you a photo that I recreated. So the credit should go to a different photographer. In fact, I first saw this photo shot by an individual named David Sark, who's a photographer, I believe, from Australia. We don't actually know each other. I'll put a link to his photo on his Instagram in the description. So come with me, I'll show you the shot, and then I'll show you how it was done. And yeah, let's go. Yeah, so I saw that photo from David, and I thought it was pretty cool. And one day I'm walking along in Shinjuku. I knew the photo was taken in Shinjuku just from stuff that's in the photo, but I wasn't sure where. And I just kind of stumbled upon it. I realized, hey, this might be the spot. And I thought, yeah, why not? Let's just redo the photo, because it is a really cool shot and it allows me to learn something about that other photographer's perspective and how they shoot. And so I thought, okay, let's do it. And what specifically made me realize that this is the location is that on this stretch of street, there is a really nice vantage point from above to get a view of this metro entrance that's right over here. And that kind of made me realize, okay, this must be the spot. So let's just take the shot, all right? Let's go up there. So here we are, we climbed up on the walkway above this nice view of this metro entrance. And the first thing, that's immediately apparent is this is a very high contrast scene. There's very bright highlights and very dark shadows. And again, this is one takeaway from trying to emulate someone's work, is you kind of have to work through the same problems that they work through, and therefore you might learn something, is that this high contrast scene kind of calls for, in my opinion, manual exposure settings. Because if I leave it on an automatic setting like aperture mode or something like that, the camera with just small changes in composition might get a little confused. They might expose for the bright highlights or the shadows, and the exposure will be all over the place. So manual settings first. And with a little bit of trial and error, for me, I figured out that f2.8 is a good aperture, 250th of a second for the shutter speed, and I have about 1000 ISO for that setting, okay? Now, if you don't have f2.8, you could do f4 and say 2000 ISO, or f4 and 125th of a second. Those will get you the same exposure in this case. Of course, each scene is different, so you'd have to figure that out for wherever you are shooting. But the reason I chose 250 is because people are walking and I want them really nice and sharp and frozen. One last note about exposure in this case, I am going for a fairly dark photo in order to preserve the highlights in this shot. If I expose too much for the shadows, the highlights will be blown out and I won't get the effect that I want, okay? So let's take a few and see what we get. And since we're here, the original photo that I'm emulating here to, for practice is a portrait, but we could try landscape as well and just see how that works. There could be another take on this scene that doesn't have to be exactly as the, the original photo is, right? The point is to try different things to learn from the experience of emulating a master's work, okay? And it is a very masterful photo, so I think it's a great way to learn. One more note about settings, I am using a zoom lens because I wasn't 100% sure what focal length it was taken on. It looked to me like something around 40 or 50, and so in fact on my zoom lens, if I set it to about 35 or 40-ish, I get a very similar composition, and I think it is a very pleasing one. But again, you don't necessarily have to shoot this on a zoom lens, but a zoom lens was helpful here to figure out what is the optimal composition. And then finally, it's just a matter of waiting for that nice subject, for somebody going in so that the light, oh yeah, that's a pretty good one, so that the light lands on them just right and creates this nice kind of long shadow behind them. All right? Yeah, so that's about it for this shot. Ultimately, it was not necessarily a hard one to figure out, but I did kind of take something from it for my own work. I like that kind of high contrast silhouette sort of style that David Sark does in his work, and so I kind of, it's my little homage to it, and I want to use this kind of technique in my work in other situations. And that goes right back to exactly what we do at EYExplore. We teach you how to do a particular photo our way, whether that's myself or one of the other guys at EYExplore, and then you can take that information, somewhere else to a different location but apply similar principles. And that's how we learn to get better at photography in general, and I think in particular street photography.